Mr. Representative, just Craig?
Just Craig, or some of Mr. Moody earlier today. You called him speaker.
Good to see you. Welcome back. And you know how this works?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Craig Eiland here. And although I'm a registered lobbyist, today I'm here in my own behalf and not on behalf of anybody else. And so I wanted to just walk through the bill and a couple of issues that I have, because I have a different reading of what the bill does. Because when I was in the legislature, I represented mostly 41 districts, Chapter 41 districts. And so, unlike when the state provides money for building an instructional facility and the state has a share, this bill, as I read it and I'll walk you through it, now applies to all districts and all buildings, whether it's built by Chapter 41 with completely local dollars. And if we're doing that, my concern is, why is the Education Commissioner involved if the state has no share and didn't finance the building? So if you look under B, it's
Mr. Eiland, you're saying just because they're financed with bond funds?
Bond funds, yes.
So
because
no
we take away in B, a school district that brings an action for recovery of damages for defective design, a district, and we eliminate the provision says receive state assistance under the subchapter. Okay? And so to me that says if a district builds a facility with purely local bond funds, Chapter 41 district, for example, we are now going to get the Education Commissioner involved, because down below we eliminate the requirement of the Education Commissioner to protect the state's share of the action. So now we're going to bring in the Education Commissioner into a lawsuit by a local district that used purely local funds. And I know my Chapter 41s, when I was a representative, they would say, why? We've sent them all the money. We did this with purely local money. Now what's the Education Commission doing, intervening in our lawsuit, and for what purpose? If they're not there to protect the state share, and so think about it, if you have a governor that you don't know, and an insurance commissioner, an education commissioner that you don't know, that now has the ability to intervene into lawsuits for defective construction used with purely local dollars. I don't think that might not be well received in some places. Do you see where I'm talking?
No, I do, and I need someone else, whether it's Representative Holland or one of our witnesses who's getting prepared to testify. That's actually a good question that we need clarification on.
And if the Education Commissioner intervenes, what purpose are they intervening for? They're not there to recover state funds. So what are they there for? Okay, and then on the next page, we see itemized accounting for any repairs made under subsection D. If we're going to go through with this, then we ought to make sure there that you can also submit replacement information instead of just repair, because it says you can repair or replace. So we would need to do that in that section. And then finally, we need a relief mechanism, because think about, Austin ISD, for example, right now is going through a consolidation because they're losing student population. If they had a construction defect on one of their facilities that was not built with state money because they're Chapter 41, purely local money, a district, they're closing the campus and consolidating it and moving that campus, but they have a legitimate construction defect, we wouldn't want them to spend that money and just waste it there. So there needs to be a relief mechanism somewhere, even if everybody agrees this bill doesn't allow the money to be used for any other purpose. And so I think that you would want to have a relief valve in there that if, it's like Representative Smith said, if you don't need that building anymore, you don't need the computer lab, go build something else that could still be functional and utilized. But once again, if it's purely local dollars, why is the state getting involved?
Okay. Members' questions. Representative Krause.
Thank you, Representative, for that insight. So I still think the transparency piece of this is kind of the tantamount goal of the whole bill. So if the commissioner or TA wasn't involved in the process, do you have an idea of how you would go about making sure those dollars were used for the right thing, absent the relief valve that you're talking about at the end, but at least up front? Who would you say, or do you have an idea of who would be the best person to make sure that happens?
Well, if you want to just get notice so that you can keep track, of what's going on, then, perhaps you give notice of the lawsuit to TEA or the Education Commissioner. And if it's state dollars right now, all this statute is applicable right now if the state has provided money to build that facility. So now we're expanding it, and so the real question, I guess, for y'all to decide is, do we want to expand the Education Commissioner's ability to intervene even though the state has not put up dollars to fund it? And what is the state's role in intervening and deciding how local dollars are used?
And that's what differentiates it between the Chapter 46 schools that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
The lack of state funding piece.
If not the Attorney General, though, I mean, if the school board's not willing to bring suit for whatever reason, should it just end there? Is there any other individual? I think this was probably your question, whether it's the Commissioner or the Attorney General. Should there be any other individual or agency or entity that could bring suit on behalf of those taxpayers?
I don't know, because for using the dollars one way or another.
Yeah.
If it's local dollars, then the local board is responsible for it. And if they use it in a way that the local people don't like, they get to elect them just like they elect us.
Yeah.
And I got, certainly if we want to put in notice and reporting requirements, that's one thing. But I just, coming from a place that had Chapter 41s, I know how my former constituents would have responded if I allowed the Education Commissioner to intervene on a purely local issue when they feel like they've already sent away all their money.
Yeah. Members, any other questions?
And I apologize. I had a red line version of this that I'll get y'all tomorrow, but the comments didn't print, so it's kind of useless.
Thank you. Members, other questions?